The presentation slides glowed on my laptop screen at 2 a.m., reflecting in my exhausted eyes. My client retention strategy, a year of research, late nights, and canceled weekends, beautifully visualized in 32 meticulously crafted slides. I emailed the deck to my boss, Vesta, then closed my laptop with a satisfying click. Despite the exhaustion, I felt pride. This strategy would transform our company. 2 days later, walking past the glass-walled meeting room, I spotted Vesta presenting my slides to the executive team. She hadn't mentioned she'd be sharing my work today. Curious, I paused by the door, just out of sight. And that's why I developed this 3-tiered approach, Vesta was saying, gesturing to a graph I'd created. My strategy centers on identifying at-risk clients before they show obvious signs of leaving. My strategy, not our strategy. My strategy. The room erupted in applause. Our CEO, Griffith, stood up. Vesta, this is brilliant work. Exactly why you're heading to Cabo next week. You deserve to showcase this at the leadership retreat. My lungs felt suddenly empty. Leadership retreat? I hadn't heard about any retreat. The whole team's excited, Vesta replied, beaming. Beachfront accommodations, strategic planning by day, bonding by night. Griffith nodded. Best part of running this company is rewarding excellence. Everyone who contributed to our success this year will be there. I walked away before anyone noticed me, my face burning. If everyone who contributed was invited, where was my invitation? The answer came that afternoon in a carefully worded email from Vesta. Due to unfortunate budget constraints, we've had to reduce the Cabo retreat attendee list. While your contributions are valued, we can only bring department heads this year. Budget constraints. For a company that had just posted record profits. For a department where I'd personally generated 42% of the revenue. I typed a polite acknowledgement, my fingers trembling with rage. That might have been the end of it, if not for Wade's carelessness. Wade, our socially awkward IT director, accidentally included me in a forwarded email thread about pre-retreat logistics. Scrolling through the exchange, I found the real reason for my exclusion. From our CFO, Rene. Do we really need her there? She'll just challenge everything like last time. Vesta's reply, agreed. Let's blame budget cuts. Besides, your presentation using her research will go smoother without her interruptions. Griffith had chimed in. Good call. She's brilliant but difficult. We need team players, not questioners. I stared at those words until they blurred. Brilliant but difficult. Questioner, not a team player. These were the people I'd sacrificed my personal life for, the team I'd believed in. The retreat began on Monday. I watched it unfold through social media. Amber-filtered sunset photos beside infinity pools. Champagne flutes raised in toasts. Matching resort wear with embroidered company logos. Vesta posted a photo of herself holding a presentation clicker. Caption, about to share some game-changing innovation with the leadership team. Number, blessed number, innovation excellence. That night, scrolling through the retreat hashtag, I saw what broke me, a photo of the awards dinner schedule. Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. Innovation Excellence Award. Vesta Martin, Client Retention Strategy Implementation. They were giving her an award. For my work, I threw my phone across the room and watched it bounce off the wall. My breathing came in sharp bursts. For 3 years, I'd given everything to this company. Missed my grandmother's funeral for a client emergency. Developed pneumonia from overwork, and still dialed into meetings from my hospital bed. Created strategies that increased our client retention by 38% year over year. And this was my reward. Exclusion, theft, erasure. I cleaned up the shards of my phone screen, mind racing. Direct confrontation would label me difficult. Apparently, I already had that reputation. Complaining to HR was pointless, they reported to Griffith. Quitting would only hurt me financially, especially with no immediate prospects. I needed a plan, something elegant yet devastating, something that would expose the truth while strengthening my position, not weakening it. Before we continue further, thank you for listening to my story. If you're enjoying it so far, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more real-life corporate drama stories like mine. Your support means everything, and trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. The revenge I'm about to describe might give you ideas for your own workplace challenges. Drop a comment about what you would have done in my situation. Now, back to how I handled these corporate thieves. My name's Marlo. I'm 32. analytical to a fault, and have built my career on anticipating problems before they arise. I grew up watching my mother work 3 jobs after my father left, which taught me self-reliance and a certain wariness about trusting others. I'm not naturally confrontational. I prefer solving problems through systems and strategy rather than direct conflict. That's what made me so good at my job, and also what made my current situation so painful. I joined the company fresh from graduate school, dazzled by Griffith's charismatic leadership and Vesta's apparent mentorship. For 3 years, I believed we were building something meaningful together. I thought my dedication was recognized, my voice valued. How naive that seems now. Vesta had always taken credit for team accomplishments, but subtly, adding her name to projects, speaking first in presentations. I'd ignored these warning signs, telling myself collaboration was complex and perception subjective, but this was different. This was theft, plain and simple. The client retention strategy had been my baby from conception. Last year, during our quarterly review, I'd identified a disturbing pattern of client departures. While our acquisition numbers looked impressive, we were hemorrhaging established clients at an alarming rate. Replacing them cost 5 times more than retaining them would have. When I presented these findings, Vesta had seemed dismissive. Clients come and go. That's business. But I couldn't let it go. On my own time, I began analyzing patterns in client departures. I created surveys for former clients, built predictive models, and developed a 3-tiered intervention system that could identify at-risk relationships months before traditional metrics would spot trouble. I presented my findings to Vesta privately first. This could transform our business model, I explained, showing her the projected savings. If we implement this strategy, we could increase profitability by 23% within 6 months. Her eyes had widened slightly, the only time I'd ever seen her surprised. This is comprehensive, she admitted. Let me think about how we position this to leadership. For months, I refined the strategy, creating implementation guides and training modules. When Vesta suggested I prepare a presentation for the executive team, I'd spent weeks perfecting those 32 slides. I'd believed this would be my moment to shine. Instead, I was home alone, watching my work being celebrated 3,000 miles away, with someone else's name attached. I poured myself a glass of wine and considered my options. Suddenly, inspiration struck, not from anger, but from something Griffith himself had said at last year's holiday party. In business, the winner isn't who throws the hardest punch, but who creates the most leverage. Leverage, that's what I needed. I opened my laptop and navigated to the profile of Imara Wilson, current head of strategy at our biggest competitor. We'd attended the same graduate program and occasionally exchanged industry insights. I'd always respected her integrity and straightforward approach. I drafted a careful email. Imara, I've developed something that might interest you. Would you be available for coffee tomorrow? She responded within minutes, suggesting a quiet cafe away from both our offices. The next morning, sitting across from Imara, I felt a strange calm. I want to be clear, I began. This meeting isn't about sharing proprietary information. It's about my future. I assumed as much, she replied, stirring her tea. You've always been ethical to a fault, Marlowe. What's changed? I've created a client retention strategy that's already showing remarkable results. The initial implementation has reduced client departures by 38%. Her eyebrows rose. That's impressive. We've noticed your company's improvements in that area. The strategy is mine, every element of it, but it's being presented as my boss's work. In fact, right now, she's in Cabo accepting an award for it. Understanding dawned on Imara's face, and you're exploring options. I know what I'm worth, I said simply, and I know what my work is worth. Imara studied me. What exactly are you proposing? 2 things. First, I want to discuss potential opportunities at your company. Second, I have a rather unorthodox request about how you might extend that offer, should you decide to make one. I'm listening. I outlined my plan. By the time our coffee cups were empty, Imara was smiling. It's audacious, she admitted, but I like audacity backed by talent. Let me talk to our CEO. That afternoon, I received a calendar invitation for a video conference with Imara and her CEO, Leandro. The meeting lasted 2 hours. I presented a redacted version of my strategy, explaining the principles without revealing proprietary details. I answered their probing questions with confidence. By the end, Leandro was leaning toward his camera, energized. "We want you, Marlo," he said finally. "Your approach aligns perfectly with our new direction. Imara tells me you have some specific ideas about the offer delivery." I nodded. "The leadership team is in Cabo until Thursday. Tonight, at 7 p.m., they're holding an awards dinner where my boss will receive recognition for my strategy. I'd like your offer to arrive during that dinner." Leandro's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "You're not just looking for a job. You want to make a point." "I want the truth recognized," I corrected. "And yes, I want leverage." After some discussion, they agreed. Leandro even suggested enhancements to my plan that made it more impactful. That evening, I sat in my apartment, watching the clock. At exactly 7:03 p.m., my phone pinged with a notification. "Package delivered." I closed my eyes and imagined the scene unfolding 3,000 miles away. I imagined the scene at the beachfront resort, the private dining room with its panoramic ocean view, tables adorned with tropical centerpieces, executives in resort casual attire raising champagne flutes. Vesta would be at the podium, her moment of glory, glass trophy gleaming under recessed lighting. 12 minutes later, my phone rang. It was Wade. "Marlo, what did you do?" His voice trembled. "I'm not sure what you mean," I replied calmly. His voice dropped to a whisper. "There's absolute chaos here." A courier interrupted Vesta's acceptance speech with a package for Griffith. It was a contract offer from Integrated Solutions for you, for 40% more than you make now, specifically to implement your client retention strategy. Your strategy, not Vesta's. I remained silent, letting him fill the void. Griffith's face went purple. Vesta dropped the award. It actually shattered. Then Leandro's letter explaining how they tracked the results of your strategy through industry metrics. Renee started yelling about confidentiality breaches. Vesta claimed you stole her work. His voice cracked. Griffith just kept asking why nobody told him you were the one who created the strategy. I made a non-committal sound. Interesting. Interesting? Everyone's losing their minds. Half the executives are defending you, saying they always knew you were the brains behind the operation. The other half are calling for your termination. Griffith locked himself in his suite with the contract and hasn't come out. "Thank you for letting me know, Wade." "That's it? That's all you have to say?" "What would you like me to say?" He hesitated. "Are you taking their offer?" "I haven't decided yet." "Marlo, what's your plan here?" I smiled to myself. "I never blindly accept the first offer, Wade. That's poor negotiation strategy." After hanging up, I turned off my phone and slept soundly for the first time in weeks. The next morning, texts and emails flooded in, colleagues expressing shock, asking questions, taking sides. I responded to none of them. Instead, I put on my favorite power outfit, charcoal slacks, emerald blouse, structured blazer, and went to work, as usual. The office was practically empty, with everyone still in Cabo, creating an eerie quiet. I spent the day completing routine tasks, organizing files, and preparing a detailed transition document for all my projects, just in case. At 3:17 p.m., I received a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Flight lands at 7:30. Car will pick you up at 8:15. Dinner at 9. G." Griffith had cut his retreat short. "Interesting." I replied simply, "I'll be there." The restaurant Griffith chose was the kind that didn't list prices on its menu. Dimly lit, with well-spaced tables ensuring privacy. He was already seated when I arrived, nursing what appeared to be whiskey. Neat. "Marlo," he said, standing briefly as I approached. "Griffith," I replied, taking my seat. He studied me intently. "I've had a very educational 24 hours. I imagine so." I maintained eye contact while a server poured water. After ordering, Griffith leaned forward. "Let's not waste time. I received quite a theatrical delivery yesterday." "So I heard." "You don't deny orchestrating it?" I tilted my head. "Would denying it make any difference?" He almost smiled. "No. It had your precision all over it. Perfectly timed, devastatingly effective." He swirled his whiskey. "What I can't decide is whether you're brilliant or reckless. Why can't I be both?" This time he did smile, though it didn't reach his eyes. "The offer from Integrated Solutions is impressive. Leandro clearly values your abilities. Apparently, he recognizes who actually created the client retention strategy." Griffith flinched, just slightly, but enough to notice. "About that, there seems to have been a misattribution." "A misattribution," I repeated flatly. "Is that what we're calling theft of intellectual property now?" "That's quite an accusation." I reached into my bag and pulled out the email thread Wade had accidentally forwarded me, printed and highlighted. I slid it across the table. Not an accusation, a fact. Griffith read it, his expression darkening. When he looked up, something had changed in his gaze. This doesn't look good. No, it doesn't. Not for Vesta, not for Renee, and certainly not for a CEO who endorsed erasing a key contributor to avoid dealing with someone brilliant but difficult. He winced. I should have verified who created the strategy. Yes, you should have. Our food arrived, creating a temporary reprieve. We both pretended to eat, moving food around our plates in the ancient ritual of uncomfortable business dinners. Finally, Griffith pushed his plate aside. What do you want, Marlowe? That's refreshingly direct. I'm a direct person when necessary. Funny, all this happened because people weren't direct with me. I dabbed my mouth with a napkin. I want recognition for my work. I want the Innovation Excellence Award officially transferred to me, with company-wide acknowledgement. I want a promotion to senior director, reporting directly to you, not Vesta. I want a 50% raise. That's 10% more than Integrated Solutions offered. And I want a guarantee that any future strategies I develop will be credited properly to me. Griffith's eyebrows rose incrementally with each demand. That's substantial. Less substantial than the 42% revenue I generated while being called difficult behind my back. He nodded slowly. And if I agree to these terms, then I stay, and you keep my client retention strategy instead of watching me implement it at your biggest competitor. And if I refuse, I smiled, then I accept Leandro's offer, and you explain to the board why you let a key strategic advantage walk out the door, because acknowledging my contribution was too inconvenient. Griffith studied me for a long moment. You've placed me in quite a bind. No, you placed yourself in this bind when you allowed my work to be stolen. He took a long sip of whiskey. I've never seen this side of you, Marlowe. That's because you've never truly seen me at all. You saw what was convenient, a workhorse who wouldn't complain when pushed aside, who would quietly accept being left behind while others celebrated her achievements. I leaned forward, but I'm done being invisible. Clearly, he signaled for the check. I need to make some calls. Of course. Take your time. I stood up. You have until 9 a.m. tomorrow to decide. After that, I notify Leandro of my acceptance. As I walked toward the door, Griffith called after me. Marlowe? For what it's worth, I've always respected your work. I just didn't realize how much of it was actually yours. I turned back. That's the problem, isn't it? You should have known. The night passed in a strange limbo. I didn't sleep, alternating between nervous energy and calm resolve. Had I pushed too far? Not far enough? Would Griffith cave to my demands or call my bluff? By 7 a.m., I was on my second cup of coffee, dressed for work, and prepared for either outcome. My phone rang at 8:17 a.m. I've talked with the board, Griffith said without preamble. We're prepared to meet all your terms, with one condition. I'm listening. I need you to handle this situation with discretion. The official story will acknowledge your work and transfer credit to you, but without explicitly stating that Vesta misrepresented herself. You want to save face for Vesta? After what she did, I want to protect the company's reputation. A public scandal helps no one. I considered this. What happens to Vesta? That's being handled internally. She'll no longer be your supervisor, obviously. Not good enough. I want her removed from any position where she oversees creative work or strategy development. She's demonstrated she can't be trusted with other people's intellectual property. Silence stretched between us. You drive a hard bargain, Marlowe. No, I drive a fair one. Another pause. Fine, it's done. The paperwork for your promotion and raise will be ready when you arrive. I'll announce the award correction at this morning's virtual all-hands meeting. I'll see you at the office. As I ended the call, a wave of vindication washed over me, but something nagged at the edges of my satisfaction. This victory felt too easy, too clean. Something wasn't right. When I arrived at the office, the atmosphere was tense. Colleagues who'd returned early from Cabo watched me with new eyes, some admiring, others wary. The paperwork waited on my desk as promised, but as I reviewed it, my unease grew. The promotion was there. The raise was there. But several clauses about confidentiality and public statements seemed deliberately broad, designed to silence me about what had happened. As I walked to Griffith's office to discuss these concerns, I passed the conference room and overheard raised voices. The door was slightly ajar. Can't let her dictate terms like this. It was Renee's voice. Give her what she wants now, sign the non-disparagement agreement, then phase her out slowly. 6 months from now, we relocate her position to the Singapore office. If she refuses to move, it's resignation on her terms, not termination. Griffith's response was too low to hear clearly. Renee continued, we need damage control. She embarrassed us in front of the entire leadership team. This can't go unpunished. I backed away quietly, mind racing. They were planning to agree to everything, then systematically push me out once the immediate threat passed. They hadn't learned a thing. I returned to my desk and picked up my phone. Leandro, it's Marlo. We need to talk. At 9 a.m. sharp, the company-wide video call began. I sat in my office, watching on my laptop as Griffith appeared on screen, his expression solemn. Good morning, everyone. I'm calling from headquarters, where I've returned early from our leadership retreat to address an important matter. As he spoke about correcting an oversight and properly attributing the client retention strategy to its true creator, I smiled to myself. Everything was going exactly according to plan, just not the plan they thought I was following. When the meeting ended, my colleagues stopped by my office one by one. Some offered genuine congratulations. Others performed awkward apologies for not realizing my contribution. A few just stared, reassessing me with newfound wariness. Vesta was conspicuously absent. According to office whispers, she'd been asked to take some time off pending a review. I knew better. They were simply keeping her away while they sorted out their damage control strategy. Griffith's executive assistant appeared at my door around noon. The executive team would like to welcome you properly. Dinner tomorrow night at the Lotus, 7 p.m. I smiled. I'll be there. But first, I had another dinner to attend. That evening, I met Leandro and Imara at a small restaurant across town. Their expressions were curious as I slid into the booth. So, Leandro began. Based on this morning's company-wide announcement, I assume you've decided to stay with your current employer? That's what they believe, I replied, unfolding my napkin. But I had an interesting revelation after our call this morning. I described overhearing Renee's plan to appease me temporarily before forcing me out. Imara shook her head. Classic corporate maneuvering. Give the troublemaker what they want publicly, then quietly eliminate them once the spotlight moves on. Exactly. So, I've reconsidered your offer. I removed a folder from my bag. Here's my counter offer. Leandro reviewed the document, eyebrows rising. This timeline is aggressive. Necessarily so. I need to be officially employed by Integrated Solutions before tomorrow evening. That's less than 24 hours, Imara noted. Our HR department will have a meltdown. I have faith in your persuasive abilities. I took a sip of water. There's more. I'd like to bring 3 specific team members with me, people whose contributions have also been overlooked. Wade from IT, Zinnia from Data Analytics, and Archer from Client Services. The talent acquisition team will definitely have a meltdown, Leandro murmured, but he was smiling. All 4 of you? They're brilliant, undervalued, and loyal, not to the company, but to good work and fair treatment. Wade was the only person who warned me about what happened in Cabo. Zinnia helped me gather the data for my strategy, but received 0 recognition. Archer has implemented my recommendations flawlessly, despite having his budget repeatedly cut. A package deal, Imara mused, with one additional request. I outlined my plan for the following evening. When I finished, Leandro let out a low whistle. That's not burning bridges. That's napalming them from orbit. Too much? I asked. He grinned. Not at all. It's strategically brilliant. Ruthless, but brilliant. We'll make it happen, Imara promised. The next day passed in a blur of secret preparations. I signed my new employment contract, effective immediately, though I told no one at the office. I quietly removed personal items from my desk, transferring digital files I was legally permitted to take. I met privately with Wade, Zinnia, and Archer, extending Integrated's offers, which they all accepted, with varying degrees of shock and delight. By 6:45 p.m., I was dressed for dinner at the Lotus, a sleek black dress, pearl earrings, hair swept into a polished updo, the perfect picture of a newly promoted executive ready to join the leadership ranks. The restaurant's private room held the entire executive team, all performatively jovial despite the lingering tension. Renee avoided eye contact. Griffith played the gracious leader, pulling out my chair at his right hand, a visible symbol of my new status. Even Vesta was there, her smile brittle as glass, clearly under orders to demonstrate there were no hard feelings. "Before we begin," Griffith announced, raising his champagne glass, "a toast to Marlowe, the true architect of our revolutionary client retention strategy. Your brilliance deserves recognition, and we're fortunate to have you on our leadership team." Everyone lifted their glasses. "To Marlowe," I smiled, touching my glass to my lips without drinking. "Thank you all. This acknowledgement means more than you know." Griffith looked relieved. The crisis, he clearly thought, had been averted. Expensive meals were ordered. Strategic discussions began. They included me in ways they never had before, soliciting my opinions, nodding at my insights. The performance was almost convincing. Halfway through the main course, I checked my watch. "If you'll excuse me for just a moment." In the restaurant's lobby, I met the courier I'd arranged. I handed him envelopes for each executive, then returned to the private room. "Sorry for the interruption," I said, resuming my seat. 3 minutes later, the maître d' entered. "Excuse me, I have urgent deliveries for everyone at this table." Griffith frowned. "We're in the middle of dinner. I was instructed that these must be delivered immediately." The envelopes were distributed around the table. Confusion rippled across faces as they opened them. Inside each envelope was a simple card reading, "Check your email now." Phones emerged from pockets and purses. I watched their expressions transform as they read the company-wide email that had just been sent from Leandro's account to every employee at our firm. "Dear valued industry colleagues, I'm pleased to announce that Integrated Solutions has hired Marlowe as our new Chief Strategy Officer, effective immediately. We recognized her groundbreaking work on client retention strategies and offered her a position that truly values her contributions. I'm equally delighted to welcome Wade, Zinnia, and Archer to our team. These exceptional professionals will help implement Marlowe's vision across our organization. We at Integrated Solutions believe talent should be recognized, credited, and rewarded. We look forward to demonstrating the power of this philosophy in the marketplace. Respectfully, Leandro Suarez, CEO, Integrated Solutions." Griffith's face drained of color. "What is this?" I stood slowly, placing my napkin beside my untouched dinner. "My resignation, effective immediately." "Actually," I glanced at my watch, "effective 90 minutes ago." "You can't do this," Renee sputtered. "I already have." I picked up my purse. "I accepted Leandro's offer yesterday. The paperwork is signed. And yes, I'm taking Wade, Zinnia, and Archer with me." Vesta found her voice. "This is a betrayal." "No," I corrected her calmly. "Stealing someone's work and taking credit for it is betrayal. This is simply business." "We had an agreement," Griffith said, his voice tight. "No, we didn't. I never signed your papers. I never verbally accepted. I merely said I'd see you at the office, which I did." I smiled. "You should be more careful about having sensitive conversations in rooms with doors ajar." I heard every word about shipping me to Singapore in 6 months. The table fell silent. "You were never going to honor our agreement long term," I continued. "You just needed to contain the immediate damage. So I found a better solution, one where I'm valued for more than just crisis management. The client retention strategy belongs to this company," Renee warned. "If you implement it elsewhere." "I won't be implementing that exact strategy," I interrupted. "I'll be implementing the improved version I've been developing privately for the past 2 months. The one that's 27% more effective. The one none of you knew about because you were too busy taking credit for my old work to notice I was creating something better." I reached into my purse and placed 4 thumb drives on the table. "What are those?" Griffith asked warily. "Transition materials for my projects. Unlike some people in this room, I believe in professional ethics. Everything is properly documented, with clear instructions for whoever takes over. I won't leave your clients in the lurch." I moved toward the door, then turned back. "One final thing. Vesta, the award looks lovely on your desk. Keep it. It'll be a reminder of what happens when you build your success on someone else's foundation." With that, I walked out, ignoring the chaos erupting behind me. In the lobby, Wade, Zinnia, and Archer waited, faces alight with nervous excitement. "Is it done?" Zinnia whispered. I nodded. "It's done. Cars waiting outside to take us to our new offices. Imara's there with welcome packages." "I can't believe we just quit without notice," Archer said, half horrified, half thrilled. "Technically, we gave notice," Wade pointed out, "about 30 seconds of it." As we stepped into the warm evening air, I felt lighter than I had in years. Within 3 months, our former company lost 12 major clients to integrated solutions. Within 6, Vesta and Renee were quietly let go. Within a year, Griffith stepped down. As for me, I finally received proper credit for my work. My name appeared on industry publications. I spoke at conferences. My team expanded. My strategies evolved. And most importantly, I built a department culture where credit was given where it was due. Sometimes at night, I still think about that moment in the Lotus when they realized what was happening, not with anger anymore, but with clarity. They taught me the most valuable lesson of my career. Your work matters. Your recognition matters. And sometimes, the only way to claim your worth is to walk away from those who refuse to see it. If you've stayed with me through this story, I hope it inspires you to value your own contributions and stand up when others try to diminish them. Everyone deserves recognition for their work. Like this video if you've ever had your ideas stolen, comment with your own experience, and subscribe for more stories of workplace justice. Remember, the best revenge isn't just walking away, it's walking towards something better,